I know that somewhere in what you classify and you allowed for somebody else to use as their commerce and some justification for false charges against me, that you have the cache records from my internet searches at the Houston Public Law Library. And in those cache searches, you will see that I had found information about two academics that at the time were alleged to be here in Dallas, associated with the University of Texas system, that were in, I believe, the economics department, and they were Chinese Americans, so far as I understand, and were writing at that time about the real estate market and talking about how depreciation connected to the real estate sector had an impact on other kinds of securities and how it impacted the economic sector and why, as they were writing about at the time, which I believe they were writing the article was in 2014 or 2015, that there was something going on at the time that needed to be addressed at that time because of what could potentially happen. Now, mind you, that article, what I did not know at the time I found it in early 2017, and to be honest with you, I did not have a lot of information, period, about the specifics they were discussing. They were involved with math and other matters related to the analysis that I did not have any experience with. But I understood enough of what they were saying to understand that it was what was being addressed in Chicago. And this is what Chicago was going through as part of the plan for transformation regarding public housing. And also part of the processes of gentrification and what were being discussed in other manners by people that were organizing against the situation with the house flipping, and that factored very prominently into internal criticisms within Chicago about whether or not Barack Obama was a viable candidate for the office of the presidency. I knew it as soon as I saw that article that this is what I needed, and I needed to be able to engage with these people and people like that in order to be able to put those pieces together. This is before I found the original Office of Comptroller of Currency reports that were discussing that during the same period of time that these guys were writing about, there were changes to the real estate market where a proportionate percentage of mortgages were coming out of the period where they were paying on interest and were moving into paying on principal. And that in paying on principal and in paying on mortgage, this was doing something very significant to the overall market, to the overall financial system. And that they were anticipating that there was going to be a very important period, unless there was some massive, very significant market collapse, where that in that course of that, percentages of people were going to be coming out of the period where they were paying on interest and coming into a period where they were paying on their premiums. And then once they started paying on premiums, they were going to be paying, they were going to be terming out. And this was correlated with announcements that were going on with Europe around reverse mortgages. And we hadn't talked, there hadn't been a lot of awareness in the United States about what this reverse mortgage concept was. But they were talking about it in Europe. Specifically, I believe that was part of some banking conferences that were going on in Denmark around the time that there were stuff that was going on around 2015 and 16. And so this was coming up in a variety of things. So these things were going on. Now those Office of Comptroller of Currency reports have been rewritten. The information that was in them in 2017 and 2018, when I first saw those reports, the actual charts, the actual text information has been swapped with misinformation relative to what was available at the time. It's gone. And they were talking about it within a context of understanding. They were also talking about how the gas and oil sector had taken out short term loans that were going to start coming due when. And that there was a correlation. They didn't say it in the report, but the way they presented the information lets you see there was a correlation between these mortgages making this transition and what it was going to do with the real estate market and how that was going to be impacted by or impact what it meant for all of these gas and oil companies to take out these temporary loans that were going to start coming due. Now, if I'm not incorrect, the first time I saw it, the major years are actually 2020 and 2021. That a majority this year is, but what are they going to do? What are they going to do based on what they did last year and what they did in 2019? Especially if they're allowed to get away with backdating stock like you let Shell do so far. Shell Oil has literally capitulated the information associated with what it was doing in 2017. You rewrote the information. You tampered with the public records that they were legally required to report. Why? Because you know what they actually did. And you know that what they did all throughout 2019, when they were doing all of those tranches, it was from 2018 to 2019 when they were selling off all those tranches of stock. It was toxic fucking stock. You know that. And you know where you were dumping it, and you know onto whom you were dumping it. And it really happened. And so I've been in Dallas, and what have I been allowed to do in Dallas? I never ever got to the university, did I? I never got to talk to them. I also never got to talk to the people in the same university, by the way, that was also, I understand, Chinese American, and was talking specifically about municipal bonds. The economics department at that university, right here in this fucking city, has people in this fucking city, in their department, that are experts, economics experts, when it comes to matters related to actual matters associated with underwriting connected to mortgages, as well as dealing with municipal bonds. This was publicly accessible information throughout 2017 and 2018. Why have I been here for 3 years and I'm literally not allowed to talk to anybody? And I've been watching how in just the last 6 months, today, actually tomorrow, in the last 6 months tomorrow, there's been 2 completely fraudulent, totally toxic, completely unsustainable, and intentionally sabotatory municipal bond issues just for Dallas. That doesn't include what they did with the DFW airport in 2019, and it sure as hell doesn't include what they did with that bipole, you know, the COVID muni bond between Fort Worth and Dallas for 2018. See, it would have been fucking different if you'd had my ass come here and I could have talked to those people who are from Dallas, who are actually accredited. I could have talked to them. Why did you kidnap me and refuse to let me talk to people who would go on the public record with their expertise and instead hide me away and refuse to let me speak to anybody while the cops consistently steal my work and commit crime with it?